And a very powerful tool is to show your own vulnerability. I'm quite happy to show my vulnerability. I'm quite happy to say that upsets me.
People start to open up, and then you start to eliminate mistakes and errors as well.
But do you think about the H in health and safety?
How can we balance the well-being and productivity and profit?
Well, I actually think productivity genuinely does come from people who are feeling safe and they're feeling well looked after in an organisation. So naturally leads on to the other. Often the issues around well-being are dealt with differently across the genders. So for you, I think it's how do you find a safe space where people can feel that they can talk about things that they need to talk about, and also can show a level of vulnerability, that because people are always worried about, what am my boss going to think if I tell them this, there's issues going on. I think it's really, really powerful. It's very interesting that I was involved in a study of 10,000 business leaders and people that worked within their organisations. And what came out of that study was that 2/3 of people would actually accept lower pay if they felt that they were in a workplace that they really valued and really valued them. I don't say that because we can then all reduce the pay, but it just goes to show how important it is. And the most important thing was empathy. That was what they want from their leaders. They want empathy. They want people to really think that they really care. And I think it can be an incredibly powerful tool. If you do care, you're lucky. Hopefully you do. Hopefully we all do care. We need to show it a lot more. We need to show it at the right level. We're not a place to go, and be crying all the time and showing all of our emotions all the time. But we need to offer a safe space to be able to discuss those things. And a very powerful tool is to show your own vulnerability. I'm quite happy to show my vulnerability. I'm quite happy to say that upsets me. That makes me happy. That makes me sad. And if you can show that, I've made a mistake. I'm sorry. I've got that right. That's great. It's an incredibly powerful tool because people are observing your behaviour and saying that's okay within this organisation. The ones that actually have a really good culture of well-being are the ones who show real empathy.
Guy, what are you seeing that's, because it's about balance. I think that's the question, isn't it? How do we get the balance right? What advice would you give? What are you seeing that's working?
It's about making space for these conversations to happen. I'll give you some very real examples of the things that we do in Nestlé that are working ever so well, which is I know that you have morning meetings with all of your team, don't you? At the beginning of our meetings, not every single day, but particularly our monthly meetings, we have a check-in. And you just basically just let everybody know how you're getting on, how you're feeling, how's life going on, and you just share in that meeting and just say, and we often get people to start that check-in with, I'm fully present today, or the opposite. And then you can start to have conversations. And people feel free to discuss that. But your point, Deborah, on that means so much more when the leader opens up a little bit about some of the things. We also have slip of the month moments where we just say, I'm having a good month, but you never guess what I did. And when the leader does that first, it's incredible. People start to open up. And then you start to eliminate mistakes and errors as well. So you see the benefit.
There's also something about understanding what the culture is you've got in your environment, really. So what is the culture that you're building that allows people to feel that it's safe to talk? And we talk, when you talk about your morning meetings, I'm pretty sure one of the first things you talk about is safety. But do you think about the H in health and safety? So that's a really good way of introducing well-being, because quite often people think well-being's a bit fluffy and I can't be bothered with that and it's fruit on Fridays. But maybe if you just started talking about the H in the health and safety and asking what your small team, what's really important to them about their health and well-being.
Well, it's how can we start roll out a well-being system or strategy without breaking the bank?
Well, I actually think a lot of the things that deal with well-being are actually free. It is because we're thinking this is about dealing with human beings. This is about showing compassion and having empathy, and it's often about behavioural change. So it's cultural change, behavioural change, but But it might mean investment in people, either in the people you've got within your organisation who might need more training. You might be able to identify somebody who has a real aptitude, real empathy with the others and is seen as a leader, and you identify them and say, actually, we will help you, we will give you some training. And it might well be that you need to set up structures, either consultants or charities even, to help support you. So I don't think it has to be high cost. In fact, I would say it's probably one of the lowest cost and highest impact actions that you can take within a business.
And June, you must also come across a lot of resources, low cost, maybe free, easy to implement, things that Jack could take away.
I think Jack's quite lucky because his business is based in one area. So, first thing I would say is find yourself a wellbeing champion in your business and give them encouragement to look at what's really important and find out what's available in your area. There's loads of NHS, the government now are really pouring money into preventative because the NHS is struggling. So, look what's in your area. GPs do lots of free health checks. Local councils have lots of health promotion initiatives. But you probably haven't got the time because you're building your business, but find somebody who's really passionate about it, or 2 or 3 people who's really passionate. Give them the job of being your wellbeing champions and ask them to look what's about in your local area. There'll be loads of free resources and people who will come in and do things for you.
Guy and Deborah are both chomping at the bit because you've come up with ideas and strategies for him, haven't you?
Well, I would think about it in 2 different ways. One, think policies, and then think about involvement and engagement. So if you think about policies, think about things like flex days, if people can take number of days over and above their holiday, if they've put more hours in than usual, or hybrid working, people working from home if it suits them and suits their personal lives better, if that's possible. So there's policies, but then there's the behaviours and the involvement. So getting involved with groups of employees, for instance, an example we have is that as well as our leadership team, our board of directors, we have a mirror board where volunteers, representatives of the various teams across the business join in and try and support us in terms of solving business issues and getting involved and feeding back to us on those particular issues. And that is incredibly engaging and involving. And the improvement on people's well-being and engagement and mental health follow on naturally from that level of involvement.
A couple of words of advice. If you give somebody the job, or if you identify somebody who you think would be really good, give them the time and reward them, because I doubt there's many people in your organisation who are sitting there thinking, I've got loads of time now, what shall I do? So you do have to think about, it's not just giving that role to somebody, it's properly supporting that role. And that's often giving the time, the space, any support they need, and actually think about their reward package at the same time, because they are taking extra responsibility.
The other thing I would add is make sure they can influence the people around them. Because quite often wellbeing's given to an administrator because you think the administrator's got loads of time. Don't give it, unless they're really passionate about it, give it to somebody who can influence the behaviours of other people as well, and you, because they've got to influence you.
I think, again, as Deborah said, it's things we referred to earlier, is there are cost-free elements, cost-free but requiring a bit of time, in terms of setting up networks, groups, discussion groups within the workplace that focus on wellness and focus on health specifically as subjects. And you'll be amazed how many people choose to champion particular elements that are personal to them. Connect with charities. I talked earlier about Mind, the mental health charity. They do some superb work. And the other really practical thing you can do is look at the resources online to help you get there. The gov.uk have some wellbeing, family-friendly policies on their website that you can use. And then the Chartered Institute of People and Development also provides some really good free resources that you can access online.
Thanks to our experts for sharing their insights and advice on workplace wellbeing. If you'd like further tips, visit nestleprofessional.co.uk.